sonrisita que en las noches me visita, se posa en mis hombros y me hace cosquillitas, se posa en mis hombros y me hace cosquillitas, cuando paro a tirar a tu corazón sincero, yo te digo caballero, a ti te quiero, a ti te quiero. Te digo, ay vidita, a ti te quiero, a ti te quiero. Nuestras miradas caen, tesoros a nuestras manos, en nuestras miradas caen.
Hi everyone, buenas noches. Espero que estén muy bien. Thank you all so much for spending some time with us tonight. My name is Azul Barrientos, and I'm here with another Noche Azul, todavía en casa. We're getting close to going back to a live session, a live concert, but for now, we're still doing it online. And you know, as I mentioned before, I think it's at this point I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here, and I love trying to take full advantage of the technology that is available to us. And one of the things that I've learned and I love doing is, if you have tuned in the last year, is inviting other artists and other yeah, other people that express their love for culture. And tonight is very special because we are mixing something that it's very close to my heart. Tonight's show is called Agua y Poesía. And, you know, naturally, one of the reasons why we're doing poetry this month is because it's National Poetry Month here in the US. And, you know, that's always beautiful to observe. And then water, you know, agua, ¿por qué agua? I think for a lot of us, water is such a natural way to heal ourselves. I will never forget when I first realized the power of water and the ancient connection that we all have to water was when I was about 8. I was going through a lot of I was going through a difficult time. My body was going through trauma, and I didn't have the vocabulary or the knowledge to know or to explain what was happening to me. And I couldn't even connect. You know, I really I think that when you're a child and you're going through something like that, you really don't know how to say these things, and how to, you know, how to ask for help sometimes. Luckily, my mother realized that something was wrong with me, and she took me to the doctor. And, you know, in their assessment, they couldn't they couldn't say what was wrong with me, but she knew that something was wrong with me, something was going on. So she did an ancient ritual, which consists of, she gathered water. And, you know, we're talking Mexico City, so there's no water nearby. And we don't have, you know, in Mexico City, we don't have bathtubs or anything like that. We are lucky to have a shower. So she got one of those, she gathered water in one of those little, it's not even like a little kid's pool. It's just like a little thing, like one of those cheap plastic things, big enough for a kid to you know, bathe in. And she gathered water, and she put that water on a certain day, and she let that water take a sun bath. And she put flowers, petal flowers. She put herbs, and she let it be for a couple of hours. And then she brought me in, and she bathed me in that water. And I will never forget, you know, all the fear. I had night terrors. I was really, you know, I was doing terrible. I had night terrors. I was not doing good in school. I was wetting the bed. I was really, you know, I was about 8. I was really out of myself, and I felt like I was fading away, you know, as a little kid. That's the best way that I could describe it. And and that moment, you know, there is a moment when I started to smell the herbs, whatever I was smelling, the flowers, the warmth of the water. My mom started singing songs, praying over me, And it went on for a while, you know. So she was singing and praying, and bathing me in this water. And eventually I fell asleep, I think. Um, and I slept for, 24 hours. And I cannot tell you exactly how, but I connected to something that was bigger than me, something that was beyond me and beyond my mother and beyond anything I I experienced as a child. It was beyond anything, and it was that healing power that kind of connected me to. I believe that it was something ancestral in me, something that we all can connect to. So, a couple of times in my life, whenever I felt that that something in me or that my body needs sort of a reset, I look for water, and I think we all do that. So I am very, very, very lucky and very blessed to have these beautiful sisters, estas hermanas tan hermosas que van a estar esta noche con nosotras, and that are a part of tonight's event. And I'm just gonna name them real quick, and then we're gonna start. Tonight we're gonna have Carmen Tafoya, Andrea Vocab Sanderson, Emi Pérez, María Concepción Bautista Vázquez, Norma Cantú, Lía, la novia Sirena García, Conchi, y Ma de Santa Ibáñez. Also, we have my beautiful brothers, Emilio Álvarez, Juan Cabrera, and Andrew Bergman, and we have a little special sorpresita at the end. What else? Well, I guess that's it. Thank you so much, Esperanza Peace and Justice Center, for presenting this event. And let me know if this light is too harsh, because I'm kind of trying something new. So anyway, let's start. The first song is a poem made into a song and is called Eses.
Esta tarde llueve como nunca y no tengo ganas de vivir, corazón. Esta tarde es dulce y no ha de ser. Viste gracia y pena, viste de mujer. Esta tarde en Lima llueve y yo recuerdo las cavernas crueles de mi gratitud. hizo esta tarde como nunca. Voy con este búho, con este corazón, y otras pasan viéndome tan triste, tomando un poquito de ti en la brota arruga de mi hondo dolor. Esta tarde llueve mucho y no tengo ganas de vivir, corazón, y no tengo ganas de vivir, corazón.
Border bullets. Rio Grande flows from the Rockies to the Gulf. Holy waters heal the border scar. Pecan, nogal, retama sway, tower over mezquites y huizaches, buried treasure brown. Fiery gold crown, sun sets over Mexico. Death defies life. A packed train speeds by, transports precious cargo, arrives with the moonlight. The Rio Grande, Rio Bravo scar. Es una herida abierta. Gloria and Salvador. How to heal the border scar? Begin by honoring our ancestors, los Comecrudo, the Coahuiltecan tribes that came and went, bathed in its waters, survived the raging river. Then honor all who dwell along the border, the many, many beings, the snakes, the cascabel, lechera, y más, cactus mouse, bats, lizards y lagartijos, y algún horny toad. Let the carrizo grow as it may, the zacate flourish, and the nacahuita, chaparros y tantos más, that offer shade to deer and jabalí. Honor those who make the river home, the water world of fish and turtles, the minnow, catfish, tadpoles, toads and frogs, along with tortoises, alligators y tantos más. Those who fly overhead or roam the riverbed, garza, garceta, chachalaca, parauque, lechuza, aguililla, sopilote, gavilán, tórtola, tecolote, y tantos más. But above all, honor all humans who come to cross, to wade and swim, to seek to live a better life. All are tied to this water, this healing water, this nourishing water, this killing water, this holy water.
Amazing, Norma Cantu. Norma Cantu is a Chicana postmodernist writer, and she was born in Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, Mexico, to Florentino Cantu Vargas and Virginia Ramón Becerra. She was raised in Laredo in Webb County, Texas, and attended public schools there. Cantu received her degree from Laredo Community College in 1970. She received her Bachelor of Science degree in English and Political Science from Texas A&E University at Laredo. She has been on the faculty of Texas A&M International University, the University of Texas at San Antonio, and the University of Missouri, Kansas City. In 2016, she was named the I don't know how to pronounce this, but I'm gonna give it a try. Murkson, professor of the humanities at Trinity University. We all love and know Professor Cantu, and we thank her from the bottom of our hearts to be a part of tonight's event. And I'm going to move to the next one. The next poet is Ana Flores, and I'm going to read from what she wrote about her writing. She says, "In my newest work, I return to my past life when I didn't have the tools to understand why opposition existed, born into the the legitimizing forces of colonization, I aim to highlight the various trajectories I traveled seeking worth. During my process, fingering through scene by scene, I am reminded of the laboring hours, days, and years I have spent and still spend rebuilding, repairing, reclaiming, and examining and differentiating what is real and what is a trigger, a scar, another break in my life's journey toward identity and gender. My work engages me, the subject, and research in the transitional time travel beyond lifetimes forward and back of identity, while also exploring how said subject embodies their body in the present moment on its spectrum. So here it is, Anel Flores.
For Roxana Hernandez. Laguna, mi madre. Laguna, my mother. Rain, river, ocean, stream, run beside me until my legs tire. Take me with you. Carry me home, where I don't have to run anymore. Ocean water, I bathed in your waves once with a white bar of soap because I didn't understand Spanish so much back then. Cuando entras el mar, the seer said, limpia todo su cuerpo. And she slid her thick black hands up and down her arms, legs, neck, and in circles over her eyes. I used soap because she told me to wash myself, and you cleansed me. You pushed her along the banks up onto the streets behind a dollar tree, and we found her still breathing. Dad said you pushed him over to the side against a nest of Montezuma cypress roots. He climbed. Met my mom. Now there's me. Rain, river, ocean, stream. When Tia bought me bags of oranges from the valley on our trips to visit Abuelita, Abuela said, your water fed the fruit, the ocean burst into waves when I crushed the pulp between my teeth. I saw her, tossed on her side, red fingernails, scars softened, lips still touched with pink, hands and arms hanging off the edge of Grandma's sheets I inherited, her hair soaked in you after a cold bath. Rain, river, ocean, stream, run beside me until my legs tire. Then take me with you, carry me home, where I don't have to run anymore. After he made me, I woke up to dry mocos and tears of river on my shirt and water in a puddle of ocean with a fistful of flood and stream dripping out the edges of my palms. When the cold came, you, river, swelled, silenced, told the people to leave your waters, that you would freeze around them. Rain, river, ocean, stream, run beside me until my legs tire. Then take me with you. Home, carry me home, where I don't have to run anymore. Just add water and it will grow into whatever you want, she said. I put the little pink capsule in my pocket and rushed home, hoping it would grow into a cute girlfriend or invisible cloak. When the rain came, I did too, opened by the undertow, sprayed out into the ocean. I drove 4.5 hours to see you, Laguna, mi madre. But when I got there, I met a girl, and she felt just as good on my skin. Water? I asked quietly, because I didn't want my friends tanning on the sand to question me. Water, The curandera said to come to you and ask you to take this memory of him away. The water had already come up to my belly button and I started to pee. Water, wash his taste away from my mouth, I asked, and you did, and he drowned. Back then, when we saw Sombrero float by, Rosy and I, we laughed, made up stories about how the panadero must have let their hat fly off their head. We didn't know. When her body landed on the river, her brown hair floated to the surface, took a lick of azure-stained sky and painted ribbons of silver and blue ringlets around each of her fingers and toes to hold her afloat as she goes. Rain, river, ocean, stream, run beside me until my legs tire, then take me with you. Carry me home where I don't have to run anymore. There's nothing concrete about water, I said. Only movement, melting, freezing, floating, expanding, running. If you want to understand me, understand water. I don't get it, she said. You won't, I think to myself. I don't even get me sometimes. I need to go to the water, she said, and left. She walked on the Mexican side of the river, chased unita flowers. Their hats swayed back and forth with the wind. She pretended they were people at first, dancing, then used the spit from her tongue to stick the petals to her fingernails. When I used to see bodies in the river, she said, I used to think that the river had taken them home. All she knows how to do in the kitchen is boil water, her tia mocked, and the others laughed around the kitchen table. She was doing her best, and the water for the tea was the best she could do for herself at the time. It's 'cause I'm a water baby, and my ex looked at me with dry creases between their eyes. I don't want to dry up like you, I said, and we broke up. Rain, river, ocean, stream, run beside me until my legs tire. Take me with you, carry me home, where I don't have to run anymore. 6 8-ounce glasses of water, the doctor said. Mija, 6 or 8 glasses of water? The doctor repeated herself again. No, she said, and wagged her finger at Mama Grande. 6 8-ounces of water? I do that already, mija. Mama Grande was confused. Get me a glass of water, she ordered. River flowing through her open body, out into the bay. Take her to Laguna Madre. Wake her, shake her, quake her, quench her, but don't ask her to stay. Rain, river, ocean, stream, run beside me until my legs tire. Take me with you. Carry me home where I don't have to run anymore.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're just tuning in, thank you for spending your Saturday night or a little bit of your Saturday night with us. We really appreciate it. Tonight is Agua y Poesía, and I'm just super happy. And I don't know, it's just a very special night for me personally. We have a very special surprise for y'all. Leah, La Novia Sirena, she's going to be live, performing live for us in a little bit. So I'm super thrilled. But I want to introduce our next poet. Our next poet is Carmen Tafoya. She's an internationally acclaimed Chicana writer from San Antonio, Texas, and professor emerita of bicultural bilingual studies at the University of Texas at San Antonio. Tafoya served as a Poet Laureate of San Antonio from 2012 to 2014 and was named the Poet Laureate of Texas from 2015 to 2016. Tafoya has written more than 30 books and won multiple literary awards. She is one of the most highly anthologized Chicana authors in the United States, with her work appearing in more than 300 anthologies. So she's Carmen Tafoya.
Hi, I'm Carmen Tafoya, and I wrote this poem for Azul's very special show, Agua y Poesía. It's a blend of two previous poems, a mestizaje, if you will, of the poems Floricanto al Agua, which was written for the water protectors with a very timely struggle in our very recent history, and still. And another poem, River Music, about the water that flows right through the heart of San Antonio, Texas, my city, my place of origin, and my pueblo. And it has some other relevant pieces in it that were written specifically for Agua y Poesía. So let me share with you this medley poem called The Music of Water. Agua, agua dulce, waterfall of life, singing rain shower, bloom of promise, blessed blood flow of our planet, agua, agua dulce. Those who know her, dressed in seeds and prayers and cleansed by sacred copal, whisper to her in melodies of respeto for the joy-drenched miracle of life. The guardians of water stand tall against bullets, threats, corporations, corruption, stand tall against the tear gas and the clubs. Water protectors, guardians of la gente, stand firm, feet on earth and hearts to sky, to save the water, agua dulce. Water protectors, por favor, please continue standing tall. Agua dulce flows like honey through the tongue of Maria Antonieta Berriozábal, warrior of la política, standing unafraid, speaking for the truth, speaking for the people, speaking words of wisdom. It's about the water. It will always be all about the water. Maria, Maria, por favor, please continue speaking. It trills through the poetry of Rosa Maria Catacalos, channeling history through her soul, people's lives and stories, agua dulce flowing through each sweet note of each rhythmic line. They came for the water, she says, sank hand and tool into soil where the bubble of springs gave off hope, the song of the water. Rosa Maria, por favor, please continue writing. It hums, for we are the water, and it is us, reflecting centuries, voices, histories before their histories any of us remember. It flows through us, cleanses us, makes us pure, like Madre Agua, Espíritu de vida. Yes, it hums through the lightest rain, trickles in the creeks, cries like thunderstorms, laughs like waterfalls, and roars like oceans. Agua, agua dulce, sweet water symphony of our spirit birth, rippling down our throats like some cool, healing magic. You bless us in our rituals, baptize us, feed us, quench us, rebirth us, and swirl into all the rivers of our pueblos and into my river, curving into cálido colors, mirrored against its own marbled movement. This stream has always sprung simply, smoothly from the heart of song, making soft melodies ring from the leaves, from mission bells, and the tender voices of children who play here between the centuries, rippling in and out of laughter. Strong as silt, they stay unchanged, unweakened even by the years, their large dark eyes still staring boldly, begging miracles of this green liquid gem that washes quiet through city's soul, healing, hearing, hoping, glowing like my pueblo's shining Christmas lights, like its joyous mariachi soul, its Indian heartbeat, medicine drum, where agua dulce brings this river music, this song of harmony, its spirit breath dancing, peaceful, flowing, strong, reflecting the very rhythm in my veins, the very rhythm of life.
Nací en la playa de mar y arena, bajo la sombra de un payante. Como mi madre fue una esclava, también la marca yo la llevé. Suerte maldita llevar cadenas y ser esclava, de un vil señor.
Hi there. So here we are. We're back, and this is a moment where I would like you to welcome. I know we're not live, but we are in a way. So to welcome this beautiful friend. Her name is Leah La Novia Sirena Garcia. Her work is amazing in so many ways, and she is better known as La Novia Sirena. She's a trans activist and performer whose public interventions insist on reflecting on the emotional charges that bind us. One of her performances was presented at the MUAC, and it was called Affective Encounters o Encuentros Afectivos. And there were a series of public performances through which Leah invited the audience to think about sexuality, intimacy, and social change. She's live with us tonight. So she's going to read first in Spanish, and then she's going to read in English. So we're going to welcome her. Bienvenida, querida Leah.
Hola, hermosa, ¿cómo estás? Buenas
Muy bien,
noches,
mi amor.
preciosa.
Gracias por
Good
estar.
night to everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to this event. I'm very happy, and I want to say thank you to my beautiful sister Azul for inviting me to this event. I'm very happy. Y thank you, thank you, thank you. Gracias por abrirme las puertas de este espacio. Estoy muy feliz.
Gracias a ti, Leah, preciosa.
Bueno, lo que les voy a leer es un fragmento de un ensayo que yo escribí para un libro que se llama Tsunami, y mi ensayo se llama Amare sobreviviremos, metáforas del dolor trans. I'm going to read a part of an essay that I wrote for a book called Tsunami, and the essay called Azul. Please, can you help me to translate the title of my essay?
Yes. ¿Cómo se llama, mi amor?
Amares sobreviviremos, metáforas del dolor trans.
With love, we will survive. Metaphors of trans love. Más o menos.
Okay, and I'm going to read two parts of the essay for everybody here. And thank you very much. Okay, and it says, este país en el que vivo, mi tierra, mi agua, México, es un país que se encuentra en guerra con nosotras las mujeres trans. Cada día derramo lágrimas, océano, cuando llegan a mí los nombres de mis hermanas asesinadas en un territorio invadido por el machismo, en un territorio invadido por el odio transfóbico que acecha nuestros espacios y se lleva nuestras vidas, sueños, posibilidades y memorias. Sin embargo, no hemos perdido a ninguna, las hemos encontrado. Esto significa que sus voces aún retumban en nuestra piel, el territorio, órgano más grande y visible del cuerpo, tanto como nuestras caricias, tanto como el deseo convertido en agua de gritar la contrahistoria de todas aquellas y decir que sí, que ellas pudieron detener las manos de sus agresores con fuerza y escapar corriendo sin mirar atrás para continuar su camino y convertirse en nombre, nombre que se nombra, Alesa, Itzel, Valeria, Cheva, Paola, Gloria, Itzayana, Elizabeth, Patricia, María, Jacqueline, Teresa, Malena, y una y otra y la otra, las otras y ella y ellas, todas nosotras, juntas. This country in which I live, my land, my water, Mexico, is a country who is at war with us, trans women. Every day I shed ocean tears when the names of my sisters murdered in an invade territory driven by machismo and transphobic, hatred that haunts our other spaces and takes our lives, dreams, possibilities, and memories. However, we have not lost any of them. We have found them. This means that their voices still echo on our skin, the most largest and most visible organ territory of our bodies, as well as our caresses. As much as the desire turned into water to shout the counter story of all those and say yes, that they could stop the hands of his aggressors with force and escape running without my go back to continue on your way and become a name that is named. Alessa, Itzel, Valeria, Cheva, Paola, Gloria, Itzayana, Elizabeth, Patricia, Maria, Jacqueline, Teresa, Malena, and one and another, and the other and the others, and her and them, all, we together. Okay, the next part is, soy una mujer de agua, dicen mis ancestras, hija de Oshun, la madre de todos los ríos que corren, fluyen y mueren convirtiéndose en mar. Agua, Yemayá. Kai, 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 Yemayá olodo, kai, 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 hace su olodo. El agua es mi refugio contra todas las tristezas y todas las rabias, porque ahí me siento libre. Todo fluye en ella como dentro de mi cuerpo y mi género. Todo es transparente como yo y mis hermanas, que damos la cara en nuestro día a día a pesar del insulto y el escarnio por fugarnos de las normas impuestas por el patriarcado colonial. El agua algunas veces es turbia, como el tornado que siento cuando me hacen sentir que no pertenezco, cuando me hacen sentir que el mundo no es para cuerpos como el mío y que mis pasos se traducen en un riesgo que me puede hacer no regresar nunca más a mi casa. El agua todo me lo da. Contracorriente. Escuchar las corrientes frías y cálidas y sobre todo enfrentar las olas grandes que me han enseñado que para cruzarlas hay que sumergirse hondo o bien nadar hacia ellas. El agua ha sido mi casa desde pequeña. Allí aprendí a mirar todo mi cuerpo y abrazarlo con ternura, abierto para desnudarme, abierto para dejarme caer, a descubrir el mundo del abajo, donde están las raíces, y sobre todo, a no tenerle miedo al abismo, por más oscuro que sea, porque para ser abismo hay que tragar luz. I am a woman of water, my ancestors say, daughter of Oshun, the mother of all rivers that run, flow, and die to become throwing himself into the sea. Water, Yemaya. The water is my refuge against all the sadness and all the rage because there I feel free. Everything flows in her, like inside my body and my gender. Everything is transparent, like me and my sisters, who give the face in our day to day, despite the insult and derision, by flee from the norms imposed by the colonial patriarchy. Sometimes water, it's cloudy, like the tornado that I feel when they make me feel that I don't belong, that the world is not for body like mine, and that my steps translates into a risk that I can make me never go home again. Water, all swimming gives it to me against the current, listen to the cold and warm currents. Above all, face the big waves that have taught me that to crossing them, you have to dive deep or swim towards them. Water has been my home since I was little. That's where I learned to look my whole body and hug it tenderly, open to undress, to let myself fall, to discover the world below, where they are the roots, and above all not to be afraid of the abyss, for more dark it may be, because to be an abyss, you have to swallow light. Y finalmente, el último fragmento pequeño que quiero leerles es el siguiente. Cuando cumplí 15 años, mi voz comenzó a cambiar. Se hizo más grave, muy parecida a la de mi padre y a la de mi hermano. Y aunque para mí fue raro y doloroso porque no me gustaba ese cambio tan repentino, no tenía las herramientas para contradecirlo. Mi voz es mi casa, pero para hacerla mi casa tuve que abrazarla. Esta es una voz muy grave, que cuando sale en mi hablar cotidiano, hace que las personas me miren con cara de confusión, morbo, que comiencen a secretearse entre ellas y que incluso me llamen como un hombre, a pesar de que mi apariencia dice todo lo contrario. Es un momento donde acontecen simultaneidades entre la revelación política y el riesgo que implica parecer, porque soy vista como lo que quiero que miren. Una sirena trans, un cuerpo ambiguo, una mujer de voz grave entre el agua y el aire, entre cola de pescado y torso de mujer. Una voz que escapa de lo normativo, pero tengo que decirles que también es muy peligroso por todo lo que podría ocurrir. La mirada de los hombres es confrontadora. Siempre lidiar con ella nos agota, nos chupa la energía y nos hace sentir despojadas de nuestros cuerpos desde sus miradas. ¿Quién puede escuchar la voz de una sirena y dejarse acariciar por el deseo de morir ahogado en el mar de la transformación? When I turned 15, my voice started to change, became more serious, much like my father's and my brother's. And although for me it was strange and painful because I liked that sudden change, I didn't have the tools to contradict it. My voice is my home, but to make it my home, I had to hug her. This is a very deep voice that when comes out in my everyday speech makes people look at me with a confused face, morbid, that they begin to separate between them, and that they even call me in masculine despite that my appearance says the opposite. It is a moment where simultaneities occur between the political unveiling and the risk involved in appearing, because I am seen as what I want you to see, a trans woman, an ambiguous body like a mermaid, a woman with a deep voice that escapes the normative, but I have to tell them that it is also very dangerous for all that it could occur. The look of men is confrontational, always dealing with it exhausts us, sucks our energy, and make us feel stripped of our bodies from their looks. Who wants to hear the voice of the mermaid? Who wants to die with this voice? Who wants to die in the sea? Thank you very much. I'm Leah Garcia, La Novia Sirena. Thank you, Azul, for inviting me, and thank you for the audience, for the patience with my English, because I am not so good. And for me, reading a spoken word in English is more difficult than in Spanish, but I know that you feel me. Maybe you don't understand some words, but I know that you feel my energy. And thank you very much for hearing the voice of this mermaid. And thank you to my sister Azul. I love you, my dear.
I love you too, sister. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you for reading and for being with us. Te quiero mucho, Leah. Muchas gracias.
Ciao.
Ciao. We're going to go to the next song, and this one is actually dedicated to Leah, and it's called La Petenera Negra.
Gracias. Thank you.
Cuentan que la petenera su padre la abandonó, porque su madre era negra, él era noble español, él era noble español.
One more time, thank you so much to Leah and her beautiful presence. Knowing Leah has been a blessing. I hadn't read her work, and her work is actually going to be published, or the idea is that her work, or it's the her publishing house is working in translating that book and making it available in English. And that book is amazing. Her book, she's one of the artists from a book called Tsunami. And our next poet is Emi Perez. Emi Perez is a Chicanx poet and writer originally from Santa Ana, California. She was a recipient of a National Endowment for the Arts Poetry Fellowship in 2017. She has lived in borderlands of Texas since 2000, where she has taught creative writing in college and MFA programs, as well as in detention facilities and as part of social justice projects. Her latest collective is Poets Against the Border Wall. She is also a fellow 2010 to 2012 and organizing committee member of Canto Mundo, and it is a longtime member of Macondo Writers Workshop. Here we have Emi Perez.
El valle del pájaro venteveo amarillo y del río azul verde, el valle donde la gente naranja nació en una fábrica plantada en un barrio, el DDT y el arsénico todavía en el suelo y en la sangre, el valle donde estoy aprendiendo cómo amar asombrada, el valle de los recién estrenados muros fronterizos, paredes divisorias, concreto, barras de contención, seguridad emocional para aquellos que nunca han tocado el agua de este río. El valle donde somos testigos con todos nuestros sentidos. Algunas veces las palabras son tragadas por los helicópteros y huracanes. El valle de periquitos verdes en la calle 10, gatos, montesas y fantasmas de ocelotes en el monte, cerca de Boca Chica, Playa Bagdad, donde el río refresca las garzas azules, niñas, niños, pescadores, pescadoras en su camino al Golfo. Arbustos de hojas de cepillo enrojeciendo en un lugar donde la primavera viene con frecuencia, con un poco de agua y todavía con un florecimiento pronunciado en febrero y marzo. Los cactus dando flores fuchsia cerca del agua salada y la tortuga de Texas tan chingonamente ancestral en la laguna atascosa, caminando en el viento, como nosotros caminamos en el viento, en la primavera, pensando en el deseo. El valle, donde mis toronjas son orgánicas y las grandes hormigas rojas consumen cada uno de los pedacitos de pulpa del color blanco durazno que quedan cuando algunas errebundas bellas toronjas caen sobre el suelo y con un chupahoyo para los pájaros. El valle donde cada toronja en mi patio trasero es un milagro de vida. El valle donde soy capaz de aprender de personas como ustedes que viven sus vidas para amar. The river on our face. With El Rio Grande Bravo in our face, this river at its mouth, at its source, with you at its source, its sources, with you at the snow, the evergreens, the million earth holes of water, emerging emerald snakes, La Maestra's grave with this river on our face. Neon green Annalie swells its throat pink white, the river on its face. Ocelots hunt under 6-foot shrub canopies with the drive of the continental divide, with the pool of tributaries in their limbs. Chicharras whining in the shade, rivers in their tymbals, females laying eggs in branches. The young Border Patrol officer flashes sirens daily, lifts his gun with the river on his face. Upriver, Chihuahua desert ancestors, adobe bricks stand up, crumble down with the river on our face. You said you love the river on my face. You said headwaters, the source, El Rio Grande rises from its source, saw the lines around our mouths, saw adobe brick lines exposed. Monsoon season granizo pelting the facades. At its source in my mouth, adobe mud bricks in my mouth, the earth holes, the sources, the snow, avalanches, granizo, Rio Conchos de Mexico, grandmother's cueva de la olla at our face, Taramara, Raramuri, tidal confluences in our face. Relatives disappear, die detained, with tributaries of many rivers on their face. In Ciudad Juarez, a mother hoped her missing daughter married a rich American with the river far away. Constant helicopters finding heat with the river as the source. To the west, crossers lift the tortilla curtain, walk deserts without water on their face. Guanajuato ancestors cross through Cali with mirages in their face. While I shower daily with El Valle river water on my face, thank you and kiss you daily, Julia de Burgos, with El Rio Grande de la Huiza, Puerto Rico in your face. Julia, I can now speak of hurricanes and being a dog at someone's feet. I remember El Paso's Inca doves, burrowing owls in the morning, barn owls and El Valle's cemeteries, great horned owl and mockingbirds, Harris hawks and paraqués, vecinos carrying signs, 2 communities, no al muro, segundo barrio no se vende, with the river on their face. A daughter and mother want their ashes scattered at Boca Chica, the river's mouth, the end, the start, another source, crabs collapsing into bullets bursting out of holes, carrizo, bougainvillea, seeds, petals, paper, rose, raspas, the mouth, the eddies, the tributaries, the flow, Rio Conchos de Mexico, the snow, granizo, the pelts, the sources rising. The confluence of people and God, tortugas, ribbon snakes in Roma, pigs and piglets jumping from banks with the river on their face. You can hear roosters crowing across the water in Miguel Alemán. Hurricanes disturb unsettled graves with the river in our face. You said you don't want archaic chains lowering you loudly with obvious labor 6 feet in. You want to hear the cool chachalacas with the river on their legs flapping from ébano to ébano. El chalan, the ropes, the pull over green water under blue sky to Dias Ordaz. I want to hear parrots, sable palms try again with the river on our face. I want no medicine, no ambition with the river on my face. I used to love you with the river on my face. I still love you when the river's on my face. I made a 4-foot-deep grave with the river on my face. I loved other rivers with El Rio Grande Bravo on my face. I want to Oxbow Lake, in this place where children still speak and lose multiple tongues, in this place where we still lose and grow forked tongues, this place where white herons hunt and drink in resacas, this place with the river in its pipes, in its lungs, in our face.
En la tierra húmeda nació, en la tierra húmeda nació el indio Manuel a la luz de la mañana con la piel del lobo y los ojos de obsidiana. En la tierra húmeda creció, en la tierra húmeda creció, en un mar de color, café, maíz y frijol, silencio, incienso y dolor. En la tierra húmeda murió, en la tierra húmeda murió, por ella lo mataron al querer defender la tierra que un tiempo le heredaron. A la tierra húmeda volvió, a la tierra húmeda volvió, y llueve, y es el cielo que llora, es la tierra más fértil por la lucha del indio Manuel.
We're getting closer to the end. We have three more beautiful poets. The next one is Maria Concepcion Bautista Vázquez. She is a Mayan Tzotzil poet and a visual artist from Huixtan, Chiapas. She attended the Mayan University in Chiapas and received a degree in pedagogy. She has a master's in human rights. She is a fellow of the National Fund of Culture and Arts, called FONCA. Art is her way of preserving the collective memory of her community. She comments on the indigenous cultural conservation and human rights protection through her work in all forms of media. She draws inspiration from the surrounding environment, cultures, worldviews, social themes, and views her work as a form of protest against the inequities faced by indigenous people in Chiapas. Bautista Vázquez's most recent work is the 2017 collection Espíritu de la Naturaleza, published by Tzelali, Centro Estatal de Lenguas, Arte y Literatura Indígena.
Quiero agradecer la invitación de las organizadoras para participar en este festival. Voy a leer algunos poemas escritos en tzotzil y en español. Lubikshali te etike, tascuchel yanalique, Schelsbaik tayolon satkakal, te alturazno, te almanzano, Shviletix taki yanalik, Kuchalmutetik tateetik, Tascobik, Shboktalel tepentik. Los árboles se han cansado de cargar sus hojas. Bajo los ojos del sol, el árbol de durazno, el manzano, sus hojas secas vuelan como pájaros en la arboleda. En sus ramas brotan las mariposas. Pumus. Jujun sacobel osil, spat bellonton, slok bel kakal. Skelok litzebe, schalbes bel skoyonton, taschut litte, lahyil chkelale. Chulels membel, skushonton, taskop skehokmut. Se, sikil ikliman skelok chanab unentzem. Skucho taskom yulenal, kutsi unentzem, kucho, chux molkim skopun ikliman. Niña, fría neblina vigila el caminar de la niña. En sus brazos carga su infancia, niña cargadora de leña, cargadora de agua, con su viejo cántaro saluda la mañana. Tsunun, tasikil ikliman tayanal nichimalukun, sloktasat li tsune, skopon tujumal pechpilhol ants. Colibrí, en el fresco rocío, en los pétalos del lirio, dibuja su rostro el colibrí. Saluda a la mujer de hermosas trenzas. O Kanchkuch atzujulal kuchalmut. Kanchkuchot tasboch mebeliu. Chku shojobalako youn skushan chulel. Chico a kushlejal. Agua. Quiero beber tu rocío como ave. Quiero beberte en la jícara de la abuela luna, beber el efluvio de tus manos que alimentan mi espíritu. Alas de agua, germen de vida. Terminaré leyendo este último poema. Baknaval. Ukubsbon Halbil, Skolob Membelil Tayolon lisliso, las hokan kuchel alku. Tasti binahel, asbelal hech balumil. Asbel, Skolionton molme eletik. Arco iris, tejido de 7 colores, telar de la abuela luna. Bajo la llovizna, lo ha tendido como arco en la puerta del cielo. Camino al mundo paralelo, en la memoria de ancianos y ancianas.
Hey again. So, con toda la emoción, all the excitement, I forgot to mention that I'm sure some of you recognize that we were able to record the music back at the Esperanza, some of it or most of it, and that was really exciting for each one of us. Andrew and I were texting each other like, "Yeah, it's gonna be great," you know. And it was. It was almost like normal. It felt kind of like a rehearsal, you know, like we missed you, we miss you guys, and we're almost at the end. This definitely has been a challenge, a good challenge for me because it made me think differently about, you know, about events. Although I try to kind of weave the music within the work of the poets and kind of continuing that flow. And it's been a challenge, and I like it. I welcome it, and I hope that we all do it again. Next, we have Andrea Vocab Sanderson. She is an amazing person. She's San Antonio, Texas Poet Laureate 2020 to 2023. She performs as vocab in her hometown of San Antonio, Texas. Watching her perform, the word hero comes to mind, and not hero for the sake of just skill, but for her work in her community. Sanderson teaches poetry workshops, mentors, builds up and encourages artists to pursue their art, and gives them platforms to showcase their talent. Sanderson's interest in other people's art and artistic development became a passion of hers, and she started curating her own shows and creating platforms for other artists to own their craft by hosting open mics. This is from the San Antonio Current 2018. And here is our very own poet laureate.
I spoke to the river. I had so much to say, and I talked to the river. She answered me in ways. I once asked the water, "Do you recognize me? My whole body a river, frame that flows and ripples deep within, coursing to currents of beauty, liquid hearth, gurgling with inseparable droplets and always inviting, salted, fresh, full and rushing with life, never dammed or receding, and certainly never stagnant. My movement, a fluid feminine rhythm, trickling or hasty through valleys and mountains, I wind. I am no pond, yet at times I resemble an ocean. I once asked the water, "Do you recognize me?" I sat still, waited for an answer. All I saw was my reflection in the flux and waves, in the flux and waves. I spoke to the river. I had so much to say, and I talked to the river. She answered me in ways. In ways.
everyone. I'm super excited because in a little bit we're going to have a talk live with Madre Santibáñez, and she will be on right after our last guest. And that song is called La Hija de Coatlicue. It's a song that I wrote especially for tonight's show. All the inspiration of these sisters, todas estas hermanas, came together and it just came into a song. And our last amazing guest, poet guest, is Conchi. She was born in San Cristobal de las Casas, Chiapas, in a journalistic home. She has a degree in human rights, and through her activism and journalistic career, Conchi fought against injustices for decades. But after years of abuse and persecution, she was forced to live in anonymity. Poetry rescued her from the journalistic life. Conchi has been a cultural wanderer since then. Although Conchi didn't use her writing voice for 30 years in poetry, words never abandoned her. So this is the work of nuestra querida hermana, Conchi.
Agua pasa por mi casa, cáete de mi corazón. Agua brota de mis ojos y mata mi corazón. ¿Sí se puede llorar? Sí, sí se puede. 75% de nuestro cuerpo es agua. No ha de pasarnos nada si perdemos alguna gota en lágrimas. A esa lagrimita temerosa que busca la ventana y que quisiera unirse a la llovizna de allá afuera, la dejaré salir, pero mañana, porque esa lagrimita poca cosa, con apariencia como de inocente, presiento que es la punta de un torrente que estallará furiosa si dejo que se escape de repente. Mejor que se mantenga entretenida, observando la lluvia de allá afuera, que si la dejo hacer lo que quisiera en su cauce mortal, se irá mi vida. Ver llover detrás de la ventana, saber a la nostalgia, a la misma. Recuerdos y silencios se entrelazan. La vida va dejando su agonía y danza en la quietud de su tonada, jugando a ver llover los corazones, lograr florecer las lágrimas y el dolor, a ver jugando lento los rincones, gigante el vacío entre los brazos, nace la inquietud de los fracasos e imprime su desierto sin razones. Ver llover apaga la erupción en el deseo, desnuda todo aquello que fue cierto y erosiona aquello que no fue. Ver llover diluye la emoción de haber sentido, levanta la caída en el camino y presagia un poema al ver llover. Las lágrimas no son agua solamente, brotan desde el manantial oscuro que cada quien guarda en su propio paraíso perdido. Desde ahí suben y devoran el corazón que está herido, mientras lo salan para embalsamarlo.
para hacer presente el sabor amargo de sus alas. Invaden los ojos, borran a las estrellas y su brillo. Así nublan la vista y se oscurece todo. Ciegan con esa tenue bruma de gris omnipresencia, lacerante y húmeda. Horadan las mejillas y se sombrece el mundo. Naufraga sin la vida dentro de un mar profundo, sin playa a la vista. Las lágrimas no son agua solamente, son las mensajeras de lo que nos muere y se hacen cómplices en los instantes negros de lo que nos mata, cuando se deslizan por toda nuestra vida, lentamente.
Thank you all so much. If you're still with us, I thank you again for spending some of your night with us. And I'm super excited. We have our next and final guest. She is going to talk to us about different things and sort of land this topic of water in hopefully a perspective that would make you question some of the things that you can do, some of the ways that you can get involved. And her name is Madeleine Santibáñez. She is a Southwest Folk Life Alliance Fellow. She's an abolitionist and veteran community organizer, educator, and danzante of Purépecha descent. She has over 10 years' experience developing and implementing youth participatory action research, cultural rites of passage, and teen pregnancy prevention programming in the occupied territories of Yanaguana, San Antonio, Texas. She is currently the youth development specialist at the Martinez Street Women's Center and serves on the board of Southwest Workers Union and Society of Native Nations. Her political education was cultivated on the front lines of largest socialist movement in the Americas, Landless People's Movement Brazil. And her leadership is rooted in her dedication to the preservation of indigenous epistemologies and the ya no pude decir esa palabra, revitalización of generational resilience. A Nepantlera by heart, her passion is to cultivate transnational exchanges inspired by a generation of migration across the borderlands and the global resistance against capitalism. Mi querida Made, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us. Muchas gracias.
Hola, mucho gusto. Es un placer estar aquí. It's an honor to be here. Not only representing myself, but my familia and my community here in San Antonio, and all the all the indigenous people that don't recognize these arbitrary colonial borders. Entonces es un placer estar aquí con ustedes.
Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias. Ya puedo comenzar.
Sí, so let me also say, because you're so many things, that one of the things that I would like to also say is that, can you tell us a bit about the what you do in school, so that we can also understand that side of you that is very, very interesting?
Sure. So I'm getting my degree in mathematics from the Texas A&M San Antonio, and I'm also enrolled in courses within the Water Resources Institute, which is the first of its kind here in Texas, because water is one of the biggest resources in the world. And as a water protector myself, I felt the need to stay informed on what is happening around water privatization, and what we're doing to conserve this water for future generations. And as an organizer and a mathematician, it informs how societies around the world relate to each other, to their environment, and to our resources. Entonces, my approach to this research is to really connect the dots between the indigenous epistemologies and water conservation, which is something that is foundational to our philosophy, and our way of life. It's our responsibility, as caretakers of this land, to take space and make space within these institutions to amplify our voices, to amplify this lucha que es it's for everyone, including those that are yet to come, and so that's I'm trying to bring all that in, and give something back for our future generations to carry on. It's beautiful. It's an honor.
It's amazing. You're amazing. I'm gonna lower my microphone so that you can, there's no feedback.
Sure. Awesome. So I wanted to begin by acknowledging, the lands that we were on, the occupied territories of Yanaguana, and the Somisec territories of the Carrizo Come Crudo and the Coahuiltecan tribes of Tejas, and just begin by acknowledging those ancestors, those guardians of these waters, of these lands, and just begin by thanking each and every one of y'all for your time. This water is a big topic, and a very, very tricky one, as we live in a capitalist society that tends to commodify our resources for profit. And, it's something that we've been assimilated into and have learned behaviors that have, that don't align with the natural law of, of like of water conservation, right? As as an indigenous person, my family is from Michoacan, and we're fish people. Or that we live and survive off of our rivers, and we depend on the aquatic the aquatic system to provide for us. Y para nosotros el agua es sagrada. Water is life. It's what gives us, our ability to, walk and work and love and play. And so these teachings are what ground me in this work, and it's something that I wanted to share with our community hoy. That water is life is something that was coined by the movement in North Dakota. When our Sioux Lakota brothers and sisters were fighting the pipeline that was going to run through their ancestral territories and contaminate the river, right? That feeds millions of people. And so, water is life is a call to action, right? It's also an indigenous epistemology, ¿verdad? Something that has been taught to us from one generation to the next, right? And now, more recently with research around how the elements respond to human interaction, we come to prove what our ancestors have always known, which is that water has memory, and depending on how we treat the water, the energy that we project onto the water, it can change its molecular structure to be that of, chaos, or of, meticulous, like calculated, like crystallization and beauty. And so water has memory is also a teaching that has been proven now, by research. Dr. Imoto from Japan has, conducted research, and mathematicians now are trying to decipher, like how do we calculate this molecular change in our water? And that's where, some of my professors are looking at calculating that change using partial differential equations, and these teachings are not, it's not something that we learn in school, in traditional schooling, but those teachings are what give life to this movement that I'm a part of protecting our water, of praying with our water, and of like fighting to preserve it for our future generations, because that water holds ancestral memory that connects us to the land and essentially to ourselves. So it's I wanted to open up with those teachings, porque we can talk about water conservation, all day, of not using single-use plastics, or making sure that you water your garden, at the certain times, depending on the level of our aquifer. But it really is necessary for us to embody these values of, living in harmony with our environment, of recognizing our sacred interdependence, our sacred interconnectedness, and how our actions have an impact on our surroundings and to each other. And learning about water law in Texas and the history of privatization throughout these territories, it was really eye-opening, porque Texas has a history of, of creating laws and policies that protect landowners, and that protect the resources underneath their land as property, right? Which is why, I say the commodification of this property, the objectification of our resources, has been something that's been, imposed on us, right? Texas is over 90% privately owned, and that's not by any of, native people of these lands, or people of color. And if you do have land, you might be familiar with the laws that give you the right to use the groundwater, right, at your disposal, no matter how much it impacts your neighbor's well or the aquifer. And these laws literally place profit over our resources and essentially over the people, because without this water, we wouldn't be here today. And we, Texas is in a fight, right, to try to, define what waters are usable for certain things and what waters are not, and what water, what they recognize and define as water, and that for us is really strange, because it's all the same water, and it's the water that our ancestors thousands of years ago also drank, right? That water is ancient. And and for us as indigenous people, all water is sacred. It doesn't matter, where it's located, or what it's being used for. It's sacred. And um, you know this movement for water conservation, like I said, it requires a deep embodiment, right, of realigning our values and not compromising um, those things for our own comfort, our own like selfish, you know selfish like needs, verdad? And that's going to require a culture shift, verdad? Porque it's all based on supply and demand, right? If we don't demand water, right, if we conserve more and use less, when we're taking showers, or we're watering our plants, or we're like washing our dishes or brushing our teeth, it requires us to be more mindful, right? And that's hard to talk about when we're talking about people of color, who have compounded generational trauma, right? Like, how can you tell someone to, be present and aware of their actions and mindful of their water consumption if they're trying, they're busy trying to like pay their bills or survive. Exactly. So that's in talking to Azul at the beginning of this, or that, like I was really passionate about highlighting the water laws in Texas, right? And like, what can we do as residents, to make sure that we're helping move the needle towards like sustainability, what that for future generations. And the reality is that we have to start advocating at the at the county level, at the state level, and making sure that we stay informed on what policies our representatives are passing, and holding them accountable um, to what our community needs. And with Texas, our population is skyrocketing, right? San Antonio is one of the fastest growing cities, the second fastest growing city in the nation. We really have to just be aware, right? The demand for water is increasing. By the time we're in 2070, where we as a county, as a region in Texas, there's over 20 different conservation regions in Texas. We have to determine, like, where are we going to get this water, because we don't have enough to supply the millions of people that are going to be coming and residing in this area. And also take into consideration the like where we're at, right, geologically, right, in between two big aquifers. That's the Trinity Aquifer to the north of us, and the Carrizo Aquifer to the south of us. And we're right on top of the Edwards Aquifer, which you know, as we begin, as a city, begin to prioritize development and begin building high rises above this aquifer, we're going to see a shift in the tectonic plates, right, that we reside in, and there's going to definitely be a canyon effect, right, where our landscape is going to sink, right? And so again, this is something that our representatives are not taking into consideration, right? Or maybe are not aware of, you know, that the impact of prioritizing development and profit, and not considering the long-term effects of development, and of building high rises, you know, so tall. So you know, there's a lot to water conservation. You know, there's we can talk for hours about, you know, like the history of that and the legacy that came with the Spanish and English colonization, right? Of not only people but of resources, and and it's a beautiful thing to be a part of these spaces, but we need more, right? We need more help. We need people to call their representatives to stand up and show up, you know, at city council meetings, right, and advocate for better water laws, you know, and something that SAWS is actively engaging in is creating a one water system, which is a holistic approach to water use, because obviously we're not the only ones as residents using water, right? The agricultural industry is the biggest water consumer in Texas, followed by our municipal water use, and then manufacturing, mining, livestock, um, and again, it's supply and demand, right? It's if we, you know, contribute to you know, the increase in meat consumption, we're going to see an increase in water use, right? If we use up a lot of oil and gas, right, or use single-use plastics, we're contributing to the millions of gallons that these industries use, right, and produce. And there's also, you know, with this move towards conservation, right, for these industries, there's also this vision for like creating and reusing water, and or being able or desalinating our water, our seawater, so that we can create more drinkable water, right? But there comes repercussions with that as well, right? The desalination plants that we have on our Gulf Coast are causing a lot more pollution. They're saving water, you know, but at the cost of, you know, our marine life. You know, it's we're compartmentalizing, you know, this uh, water recycling kind of like idea, and not, you know, saying that we're all about water conservation, you know, but at the expense of the fish, you know, at the expense of the earth, at the expense of, you know, the workers who have to work in under these conditions. And so our water demands, you know, that come with like our consumption, and our tendencies and habits, is going to really determine, you know, where we're at as a city, as a state, as a nation, like, you know, close, you know, in the next 10 years, right? It's all related, and it's all interconnected to all of these different struggles, right? Water isn't an isolated struggle, a fight. You know, it's not separate from the fight for clean air, not separate from the fight against climate change. And it's definitely not separate from our immigration fight, because the privatization of these resources, and and climate change, you know, that's happening as a result of our actions, is closely related to why people are having to migrate from their homelands and into our country, right? It's the same reason why we uphold rape culture, right? It's why we objectify and commodify our earth and women's bodies. It's all related, and the root of that problem is patriarchy. I'm gonna call it out because that exists, everywhere. I walk into these classrooms and we're talking about water resources, but then we're not addressing the racism in the room. We're not addressing the misogyny in the room, and we're overlooking, um, just the capitalist, um, like values, of protecting corporations, and creating policies and permits that allow them to trade off, like these credits of like how much toxic waste can be dumped into our streams. It boggles me, right, to think about, like how, that there's a regulation to like how much you can put into our water, where there should be zero, like, um in my opinion, right, zero, like infiltration of those toxins into our environment. Being that Texas has over 200, well, it has about 281 springs, and more than 63 of them have stopped flowing. We've lost over 50% of our wetlands, and over half of them in Texas. Right? It's not. It's This is a crisis, right? And it's going to require a collective effort to make sure that as individuals we're embodying this practice of sustainability, of not only living in beauty but also protecting the beauty, right? Of making sure that we're holding our representatives accountable, and that we're showing up to these fights, and that we're also immersing ourselves into these like spaces to learn and to make our voices heard. That's why I'm in those classrooms. I'm probably the brownest person there, and one of the only females in those spaces, and it can be nerve-wracking. But I recognize that I'm there for my people, to I learn this information and get it back to y'all, get it back to the people on the front lines.
So, Made, one of the things that to me was very interesting to hear because Made and I talked, we were going to record it, and then we were like, no, let's just do it live. So I got to hear a little bit of this, and she has like so much information, y'all, that we we're even talking about like we should make it into like little pieces, because it's a lot, it's a lot to take on, in the sense like it's a good lot to take on, like it's just a lot of information. And sometimes one of the things that is a good reminder, I guess, is like, como estaba diciendo Made, just to start thinking, right? Because normally we're not invited too much to get involved from the corporations, because naturally, they don't want us to get involved. It's like, no, we got it. We'll take care of it. We'll make the laws. You'll get your water. Just go and work. And naturally, that's not what Mad is saying. What Mad is saying is like, no, question where that water is coming from. Question exactly what your representatives are doing. Like, who is suffering from that? The water that we're getting is coming from somewhere. Is that somewhere local? Is it affecting other communities? Like, let's start thinking about that, and let's start thinking about obviously not buying bottled water. Like, it is a commodity. Sometimes it's easy to just grab a bottle of water that is already packaged and ready to go. But what Matt is saying is, well, if you have to at least refill it a couple of times, right? Like, all of those things matter.
Exactly. And it's yeah, all of those things matter. And there are things that our city has managed to incorporate, and to incentivize water conservation. And it's important to highlight those as well, because they're really useful, right? And some of them are coupons for landscaping, right? And planting. There's like discounts for planting indigenous species that don't require too much water, right? Because they're able to adapt to this, low rainfall, kind of drier environment, right? There's also tools that they share so that you're able to know how much water you're consuming in your home, right? So that you're just more informed. And there's a lot of incentives that SAWS has for us, but though all of those are available on their website, and that's something that you might want to explore as a family, as a community, in your neighborhood associations, or even in your workplaces, around how you can help to decrease the amount of water use, by green infrastructure, or like Azul said, not refilling your bottle at a gas station, which is something that I do when I'm going on long road trips. I know gas stations let you fill up your water bottle for free, and it's like, yeah, like free water, always. There's a lot of water saver and coupons and rebates available on their website that'll help you not only just save water, but also save money, right, through their like water rise programs and things like that. And as an industry as well, right, as a commercial customer, like if you own a business, or even a hotel, right, there's things everyone can do to conserve water, but it's all available online. And I think what my purpose here is to remind you all that that of these water teachings, right, and to encourage you to show up to these boards, right, these regional planning boards that create these water sustainability plans that often are dominated by male Anglo industrial, like CEOs and business people. And these positions on that board are all non-paid. They're volunteer, and they require like time to develop this policy, but we need more people, more representation, right? And that's possibly something I might consider in the future. But encouraging our youth also to make their voices heard around this, to go as a family to the river, right? Even if it's to the San Antonio River or any of the beautiful rivers in our Yanaguana territories, like the Guadalupe, the Medina, the Nueces, the Comal, and clean it up. Take a trash bag and clean up the debris. That helps a lot, to preserve the water quality, because of the animals and the fish and the bacteria that live there, right? That are able to balance out that ecosystem. And so even cleaning up our beaches, right, and even going fishing can help to contribute to water conservation. Actually, the sport fish restoration program, like these fishermen people you know have created like a coalition and have funded many of the aquatic research programs at our university and around the nation. And so I encourage you all to go fishing. 10% of any fishing materials that you buy goes to water research and aquatic systems, like conservation. And so there's there's so many entry points for you to to give back to your community. But I think the most important is to embody a lifestyle, right, that is in harmony with the earth, right? To stop using single-use plastics, right? To stop the demand for items or material possessions that require a lot of resources. Our tech industry is one of the biggest polluters in the world, right? And so just be more mindful of what we consume in general, right? And making sure that we're doing everything in moderation, or that only to take what you need and not more than what you need. So yeah, you can You can also help monitor the use of water and protect its quality by joining, these teams that like the Texas Stream teams and different people that are doing great work. But I think it really starts at home, in having these conversations with your child, and maybe pushing for a 60-second shower, instead of the 1 hour bath, or even adopting the practice of talking to your water, right? Of praying with your water. The research by Dr. Imoro is real, y'all. I encourage you to look it up. But that really allows us to recognize that, like our impact, and to center healing in every part of our lives, right? And making sure that we're that we're talking to ourselves, that we're connecting, that we're mindful of our practices, and how we like relate to our environment. I can talk forever.
No, and definitely it'll be. I think that in the future we should come back, because one of the I mean, you have so much information that is just really interesting, and I think if we organize a way that you share it to us, like por pedacitos, so that we can also like take a moment and kind of think about it. And I don't know. I thank you so much, Made, for making it all, like, filter all of this information through you, because it matters, and representation definitely matters, a lot, obviously. So muchas gracias, y gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Y
Sakamaki.
te mando un abrazo muy grande, and let's just we'll definitely plan more. And if you want to drop some of the organizations that you may want to direct people to,
Sure. Yeah.
that'd be interesting también. Y muchas gracias. Te abrazo.
Sakamaki, fue un honor. I encourage people to reach out if they want to learn more, or would like to get involved with any organizations doing direct action and striving to preserve our and protect our resources. We have, I'm really tied to many organizations doing great work here in San Antonio. So I'd love to share that with folks. So I will be posting my contact and some resources in the chat.
Gracias.
Sakamaki.
Muchas gracias. Un abrazo. Bye, Madre.
Bye.
Again, thank you all so much. If you're still watching, thank you for staying with us. I know tonight was a bit of a longer show. I want to thank again to Emi Pérez, Anel Flores, Carmen Tafoya, María Concepción Bautista Vázquez, Conchi, Andrea Vocab Sanderson, Norma Cantú, y Leah, la novia Sirena Garcia. I also want to thank Madre Santibáñez for being with us, and naturally mis hermanos Juan Cabrera, Andrew Bergman, y Emilio Álvarez. And I want to thank our home, the Esperanza Peace and Justice Center, who makes this possible. And they say if you're enjoying this workshop brought to you by the Esperanza Peace and Justice Center, well, probably it's this event, please donate at esperanzacenter.org. Thank you again. Love you all. Hopefully we'll see each other soon. Y mañana, if you want to see it in Spanish, it'll be a different show. Some of them will be different poems. And that's it. Muchísimas gracias. Mwah.